Hey, it's me. And honestly, I'm having like a hair crisis right now, or I was. I think it looks okay now, but earlier I sat down after like messing around in the mirror for and I was like, it looks cute. And then I sat down and it looked disgusting. So I did a poll today. I probably should have started it yesterday. And I said, which villain should I talk about? And I said, should I do Chanel Oberlin? Hello, thank you for joining. I said, should I do Chanel Oberlin or should I do The Mummy? And it was it wasn't neck and neck. It was like The Mummy majority, like all day. And then just now when I checked it was 50-50. So I have to decide. Thanks a lot, guys. So I'm going to do Chanel Oberlin because I kind of talked about The Mummy a couple weeks ago. It might be fresh in everyone's brains. So I'm just going to talk about Chanel on Scream Queens. I don't know if you've watched it. I just watched it for the first time this past Halloween, and I liked it. And while I talk about that, I'm going to work on this guy, taking a break from the eyes that I was working on the past two videos. I just really have to get this done. And I have like 10 million stipples left to do. All right, so with Scream Queens, I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's like an older show at this point, but I can't really tell. Like, are you supposed to hate the Chanels or not? I don't know. Sometimes it seems like you're supposed to hate the Chanels. And I was talking to my husband about this. He was like, I think like most people probably don't like the Chanels. But I don't see how you could not like them because they're so funny. But especially Chanel Oberlin, who's like the main Chanel or whatever. And like everyone in that show kind of sucks anyway, so it's not like they're the only ones who are horrible. And so I thought that the show was like so unfair. I guess I should say, like, if you haven't seen Scream Queens and you care about it, this is gonna be like a spoiler. I don't know. I haven't been doing that because I don't know. But I guess Scream Queens is like probably the newest-ish thing. But also, I'm really late. Like, I don't even know. I feel like the show's been out for years. But anyway, I didn't think it was fair because the Chanels, like, didn't even do anything. And then they, like, literally were sent to jail just because everyone, like, thinks they're bitchy and doesn't like them because they're, like, rich. And it seemed like the whole moral of the show was, like, rich, pretty sorority people suck. And, like, that's pretty broad. I'm sure, like, I don't care much for sorority culture, frankly. I think it's kind of creepy. But I've also never been in one, so there's probably totally normal ones. But anyway, I just thought that the show was really mean to Chanel. Like, I don't think she should have gone to jail. She didn't deserve that. And, like, everyone was all mad at her about, like, the things she would say. Like, she would, like, that massive email she sent out that got forwarded to everyone, and it was like on the news. They were like, oh my God, Chanel is so mean, like she's so bitchy. And it's like, well, that email wasn't even for you, so that's not fair. And I also just really liked, like, I feel like they were trying to say, like, oh, she's so self-absorbed and shallow and selfish and like that's bad. But honestly, I think those are like strengths. Like, you can be selfish. That's a good thing. You should be self-absorbed. Who else is going to be absorbed in you? That sounds weird, but I mean it. And then, what was the other thing I said? I don't even remember. But I felt like she was a pretty great character. She was innovative. She took initiative. She adapted to different situations. She looked good all the time. She took charge, you know, she was a good leader. I just really liked all of her qualities. And then I didn't get why people were, I just felt like the whole show, they kind of made you kind of root for her. And then all of a sudden, I just felt like it fell apart at the end. And all of a sudden, she's going to jail and we're supposed to be happy about it. And the real murderer doesn't go to jail. But we're supposed to be happy about that too because she had like a tragic childhood. Like, duh, of course she had a tragic childhood. She's a murderer. Most murderers do. Like, that doesn't make it okay. Duh. So I didn't really know, like, what was happening with that show. Like, I don't even really know if Chanel was supposed to be a villain, but, like, I was rooting for her the whole time. I just wanted her to get what she wanted because she cared about it. No one else in that show besides the murderer, I guess, was that goal-oriented. And, like, as a goal-oriented person myself, I respect that trait in other characters. Like, I like to see it. There's so many characters in shows who are just, and I feel like this is such a thing. This is why I, like, wanted to make this series talking about why I'm rooting for the villains. Oh, shoot, I messed up that stipple. You should look at it. Boop. Do you see it? Oh, I zoomed way too much. Do you see that line, though? Maybe I can fix it. But yeah, I was saying so many villains in shows are like, they're so goal-oriented and they know exactly what they want, and they have this like 12-step plan of how to get it, and then the hero is just kind of like stumbling through and they're like, this is bad, and then somehow they make it work and they beat the well thought out plan. Like, that sucks. That's not fair. Anyway, I'm going to talk more about what I liked about Chanel. I really liked how mean she was. It was like Regina George times 11, but way more interesting. Because honestly, Regina George is kind of basic and not that creative, but Chanel was like super, super creative. Like, not just with her insults, but with her plots. And like, sometimes her plots didn't work, like when she was trying to kill the dean. You know, just a casual murder plot, whatever. But that wasn't even her fault. It was the lack of communication and follow through from her friends. And like, who among us can't relate to that? Like, how many times would we have gotten something done sooner if the people like on our group project would have just pulled their weight, you know? I also really liked her whole thing with Chad. What's his name? Chad Radwell. Like, there were just so many funny moments between the two of them. Like the night of 1,000 compliments. I just feel like Chanel was just such a funny, dynamic, interesting character with so many different levels. And I love her. Honestly, when 2021 rolled around, I was like, man, my New Year's resolution low-key is to just be more like Chanel, because she's so confident. She's so well-dressed all the time. And she achieved just about everything she wanted until the show randomly decided that she deserved to go to jail for something she didn't do. Oh, and then I totally forgot. I don't remember if this was the end of the first season or the beginning of the second season, but I feel like it was the end of the first season. They had her like in the mental hospital with the other Chanels, and they were like, oh, Chanel loves it here because there's no men to impress. I was like, that's bad writing. Like, how lame, you know? I felt like the whole show was kind of making you feel like Chanel was this empowered woman. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, actually she was a slave to societal norms. And the only reason she was bad was because of men. Like, no, I feel like every decision Chanel made was decisions Chanel wanted. Oh, so I feel like I'm rooting for the villain against the writers. Like, I'm mad at the writers. The writers are the villains, because I just feel like, what were they doing towards the end? And I've never watched anything else that this guy has done. Like, I never watched American Horror Story because I'm a weenie, and I don't know what else he's done. I think it's just that. I don't know. I could look it up. I could have just literally Googled it, and I didn't. But for real, I just felt like the first half of the season was so strong, and I was laughing so hard at the Chanels, and I was like loving a show where the characters were just like that witty and like kind of mean. And there was no, what am I trying to say? Like, the point of the show was just, like, itself, and there was no, like, oh my God, but no, because we have so many shows like that. Does that make sense? Like, we have so many shows about, like, good always wins. And I was, like, really enjoying having a show where it was just, like, there's a bunch of mean people, and they're not necessarily the bad guys, but they are mean. And it just felt like it took such a left turn all of a sudden, and, like, suddenly it was like, oh, it's okay that this girl committed murders and got away with it because she was nerdy in high school. And the popular kids go to jail because popular kids suck. And I can't believe that this show has me literally defending popular kids, because what the hell? They don't need it. They're fine. Well, if your popular kids are like mine, they're probably in a multi-level marketing scheme now, but they don't need my defense. I'm so curious. Is everyone having that experience? Like, if you weren't the popular kid in high school, are the popular kids from your high school reaching out trying to sell you, like, makeup? Does that happen to the guys, too? Like, where are the popular guys? Like, what happened to them? Did they go to jail? I don't even know what guys were popular at my school. I don't think there were any popular guys. But anyway, I'm digressing. My whole thing was that Chanel, I just really loved her. And I was shocked when they, like that whole last time. And again, like, if you haven't watched Scream Queens and you don't want me to ruin it, I'm sorry, I'm about to ruin it. That whole time when, like, the Chanels were all being framed, like, they had the fake parents and they had, like, the fake story, and Hester was just, like stabbed herself in the eye and everyone was believing it. I was like, this can't seriously be how this season ends. Like, they can't seriously be sending the Chanels to jail. They didn't do anything except be pretty and mean. Like, mean people are mean, but they don't deserve to go to jail for things they didn't do. And being, like, snarky is not a crime, or else I would be in jail. And I don't want to go to jail. I don't deserve it. The snark makes you funny. What was I saying? So yeah, I was like, is this seriously what's happening? Like, I was even like, is this one of those things where this whole episode was a dream? Like, what's going on? And then they really went to jail, and the jury found them innocent, but then Chanel, like, said something mean about them. I think she said, like, they were jealous or whatever, and the jury changed the verdict to guilty. So which could never happen. I recognize that. I know that's not how things work. But I was like, so the show is literally showing us that, like, nobody believed that they were guilty, but still chose to send them to jail because they thought that she was a bitch. I just don't think that's a good ending. Hi to everyone else that's joined. I have no idea if you're still here. Once again, I thought I would have a lot more to say, but I feel like I've already talked through, like, why I liked Chanel so much and why I thought she deserved better. And then, like, besides, like, Chanel Oberlin, like, Chanel number 3, and I think it was Chanel number 2, whichever, they also were sent to jail, and they, like, super didn't do anything. Maybe it was Chanel number 5? I don't know. You guys know if you've seen it, but I just thought, I was like, why, after, like, building my affection for these characters and making me, like, love their personalities, are you suddenly, like, turning me against them or trying to? And it really made me wonder, like, there's no way I'm the only one who really liked those characters, but, like, was I not supposed to? Like, was the point of the show to make me hate them? I mean, they were, like, the only characters. Like, who was I supposed to be rooting for? Because that whole show, I didn't feel like I was supposed to be rooting for Hester. Like, what was the point? Did I totally miss the point? Like, Is everyone watching this like, Allison, you totally missed the whole entire point. Like, you're not supposed to like anyone. Maybe that's the point, but like, why would... Maybe I just don't have enough free time, but like when I'm watching a show, I want to like the people in the show. If I wanted to watch a bunch of people I didn't like, I would watch Fox News. Like, seriously. Also, like, on a shallow level, I really liked Chanel because she was so well dressed. Like, I wanted to go shopping every time I watched an episode. It's kind of like when I used to watch Project Runway in high school, like, I would just want to go shopping right after because it was, like, impossible to sit there, for me anyway. It was impossible to sit there and watch these people be so fashionable and then, like, go out not looking like a 10. So that whole time I was watching that show, I totally, like, upped my standard for how I should look when I went out. Because it was like, you know, we were all inside most of that season. Like, I wasn't going out that much. I'd also just moved, so I didn't know anyone. And I was like, it doesn't matter if I go out in, like, a t-shirt and my gym clothes. But then I was watching Screen Queens, and I was like, actually, I should just really do it up. Like, going to Walmart, I absolutely need a faux fur and a mini skirt. Like, 100%. And then it was surprisingly hard. I wanted to do like a Scream Queens themed birthday outfit because my birthday was a couple weeks ago. And I could not find an outfit that that I liked that looked just like theirs. Like, it was so hard. I guess I could have looked in more expensive places, but I didn't want to do that. Because I like splurging, but up to a point. Like, I'm still responsible. But I want to know if like I missed something, because the whole time I was watching Scream Queens, like from episode 1, I don't remember what the first thing is that Chanel says, but I know it's mean. I think she's like talking about how much she hates like everyone. And I was just like, I love her. I love this person. What does that say about me? Like, if she was a real person, I would want to be her friend. I wouldn't want her to like me. I wouldn't care, because it would be impossible. But I would still want to be her friend, or at least in her circle. I feel like if I was surrounded by someone that goal-oriented and well-dressed, like, I think my achievements would skyrocket because I would constantly be competing with her. I don't know. I just couldn't believe when they, like, sent her away and they were like, oh, look, Chanel doesn't care about being skinny anymore because there's no men around. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was weird. I didn't understand what I was supposed to think. Like, is Chanel an empowered woman, or is she a slave to societal norms? Like, I couldn't tell what the show was trying to tell me. Like, I've watched a lot of TV shows, obviously, and I normally see them start to degrade around season 4. Like, that's when character continuity starts to, like, fade. And I think maybe I should look into it, but I kind of wonder if it's like maybe a writer or a producer leaves or something happens and suddenly characters are making decisions that you're like, I didn't see them making that decision. Oh, I gotta do one of these about Vikings when I finish Vikings. If anyone's watching that, talk to me about it. But Scream Queens, like, that happened in the first season. What was it, like 12 episodes or something? And by episode 10, I was like, what's happening to everyone? What's going on? It just spiraled. It spiraled out of control. Like, ooh, you know what happens in these shows when they start to spiral is like, I'm going to call it the Gossip Girl effect. Everyone starts turning on everyone, but then the next episode, they're reunited and they've turned against someone else. It's like, this would never happen. Like, I know I'm supposed to suspend my belief while I'm watching Scream Queens because it's totally ridiculous. Like, in what world would all these murders go unsolved? But I just can't believe that 1 minute the Chanels are trying to kill Chanel number whatever, and then the next minute they're like sorry we tried to kill you. Like, let's all be friends and try to kill her instead. Like, maybe that would happen, but it needs to happen over a longer period of time. Like, how does that happen in, like, the span of one episode? I don't know. And that's why, I was like, I couldn't take it seriously. I was like, I'm still rooting for the Chanels because they're the characters that have been in here the longest. Like, I'm not rooting against them. I'm not going to root for the murderer. The murderer wasn't even doing a good job. They were weird about it. They weren't committing. And there were, like, too many of them. There were so many murderers. Like, what was going on there? Oh, and then I just remembered. So I guess I forgot about this character. I guess maybe they want you to root for the hat girl. What's her name? The one that looks like a bowling ball. Is it Grace? I refuse to look it up. But if you've watched the show, you know. So she's the blonde one with big eyes. And she, like, it's like Nancy Drew or something, her and Keke Palmer. And they're, like, supposed to be, like, the nice people. And they're all about, like, finding the truth. And I guess they're presented as, like, the good. But I thought they sucked. And I'll tell you why I thought they sucked. Because they were super selfish, but they weren't honest about it. So Chanel Oberlin, she was like authentically herself the whole time. I feel like I'm finding like what I wanted to say earlier. Like, she was herself. Like, she totally owned being selfish, and she totally owned being a bitch, and she totally owned, like, that she didn't care about other people. She just cared about, like, getting her degree and being president of the sorority and then getting her career as a news anchor or whatever. And that was her. And she was like, whatever, I'll do what it takes. But, like, Grace, and to a lesser extent, Keke Palmer, and I can't remember her name in the show, and I don't even know if that girl's name was Grace, but they were like, oh, we're such good people. Like, we just really value human life, and, like, we don't care about ourselves. Like, we just want to find the truth. And then that wasn't even really it. Like, they both had extremely selfish motives as well, but they were hiding it behind, like, being good people. And I hate that. Like, be a bad person out loud. Like, stop trying to trick people into thinking you're nice. Like, that's so gross. Like, ew. Because Grace was just all about, like, finding out who her mom was and, like, proving to herself that she was that weird baby and, like, feeling like she was important. And the whole thing, I felt like, was just tied up in her ego. Like, she wanted to be able to say, like, I saved the day. Like, I stopped the murderer. I'm amazing. And then Keke Palmer wanted to be president, which at least is, like, a cooler thing to want. Yeah, I just, like, towards the end of the show, I felt like the show was trying to tell me that I should be rooting for them. And I was like, I don't want to root for them. They're so boring. Because, like, the show didn't even make an effort to make them interesting. I felt like they weren't as exciting. They were very bland. Their dialogues were very just, like, shallow. And their motives were just really, like, unrelatable. Like, I can't. Oh, and then just, like, how inconsistent they were. Like, Grace thinking, like, her dad's the murderer, and then thinking her boyfriend's the murderer, and then, like, didn't she find out that her boyfriend was the murderer? And then she was, like, not that upset. She just, like, broke up with him, and then, like, they refused to leave campus. It just like, the decisions that they made, I felt like were dumb, whereas the decisions that Chanel's made were equally dumb, but at least it was more understandable. I don't like people who are on a high horse. Like, why are you on a horse? Get in a car. What are you doing? It's 2021. Okay. I don't know how long I just talked, but I got, like, it's coming together. I took a risk here because I'll show you. Look at my face. Okay. So I stippled the jacket, and then I did like the lines for the shirt. And as soon as I started stippling the jacket, I was like, bro, because I'm also stippling the face. And I'm like, I need to make sure that the jacket and the face don't look like they're the same texture. So I'm trying to do these stipples like lighter and smoother. And I'm also, I don't know if I'm the only one who can see it. I'm kind of getting dizzy even just looking at it. But I'm trying to make like the pattern of these stipples look different than the pattern of these stipples. And I feel like it's happening. Like I've put these a lot closer together than these. And I'm not like, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Like on these clothes, I tried to make it look kind of like fuzzy, and I tried to make it more sporadic, where over here I'm trying to be more consistent with how I'm doing it. So I don't know, we'll see how it works as we go on. And I think the forehead is like the hardest because it's just so much empty space, and I have to make it like rounded. So I'm trying to make it rounded. And it's like I can kind of see it when I'm doing it, but I don't know if everyone else can see it like after it's done. You'll have to let me know. And I don't know if you can still see the words, but I like labeled. I need to rewrite them, but I labeled like dark, light, so I can kind of see like where the textures should be, the highlights. And see, like, because I'm this type of person and I like to like add all these labels and plan everything out, that's why I feel like it's impossible for me to root for someone like Grace in Scream Queens or whatever the hickety heck her name is, because she didn't have a plan at all. She was just rolling around like with her weird hats. She put more effort into her hats than she did into solving those crimes. And I get, how am I supposed to root for that? She's just like out here with her little speeches and her weirdo dad and her strange obsession with her mom, just like winging it. How do you wing solving crime? And like failing all her classes. And then she was spending all that time with Gina, who like was the murderer. Again, sorry if you haven't seen the show, but that's what happened. And she couldn't even tell. Like, where's your intuition, dude? You know why she couldn't tell? Because she was so absorbed in her own self and her own hats, and she couldn't see the truth. And if she really did want to see the truth, she would have seen the truth, because nobody was doing a good job disguising the fact that they were being murderers. And I feel that was a fun angle. I feel like if Chanel wanted to, she could have figured it out. I think she was always suspicious of Hester. Like from the start, she was suspicious. But Chanel's first priority wasn't finding the killer. Her priority was like bigging herself up, and she achieved that. You know, she did it. She achieved what she set out to do. And Grace and Kiki didn't achieve anything. They didn't do anything that they set out to do at all. Like, how am I supposed to be happy with that outcome? Like, oh, the murderer gets to be in the sorority and the not murderers are in jail, and that's a good outcome? Like, no. I don't even know, like, can we even say that Chanel was the villain in the show? Because they treated her like the villain, but she didn't even do the kills. Like, I just don't understand. I can't be the only one who feels this way. But I was rooting for her the whole time, and I was completely devastated. Like, I really didn't expect them to do her like that. And I know there's a second season. So I watched half of the first episode of the second season, and I couldn't get into it. And part of the reason is that I already knew that Taylor Lautner was going to be in it, and I think Taylor Lautner looks like I think he kind of looks like a coconut popsicle, and it's just really hard for me to look at him for very long. Like, I can stand it in Twilight because everyone looks ridiculous in that movie. Like, those are comedies as far as I'm concerned. So, like, of course. But in a show where, like, I've become accustomed to looking at someone on, like, looking at people that I think are attractive, like, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't take him seriously. I mean, I would love to hear if someone disagrees with me, but I don't think Taylor Lautner is a good actor. You know, another movie I could talk about that I hadn't even considered because I didn't finish it was Abduction. I don't know who the villains are in that, but Taylor Lautner is the star, and I guess he's supposed to be like 15, and I don't even think anyone got abducted. I guess he was abducted, but it was like good that he was abducted. I don't know. I'm thinking about that movie way harder than I should. That was the dumbest movie I've ever seen besides Fantastic Four. I didn't even finish it, but I bet if I did, I bet I would be rooting for the villains in that too, because Taylor Lautner, what the hell was he doing? How am I supposed to root for that? He was just like on motorcycles and like getting really drunk for no reason. And the one thing I do remember was like, I think his house exploded and that girl was with him who I guess like wasn't his girlfriend, but he like had a crush on her. And Sigourney Weaver was like, oh my God, we gotta leave the girl. Like, so much shit is about to go down and more stuff is gonna explode and she is not equipped to go on this journey with you. And Taylor Lautner was like, no, I'm not leaving her behind. Like, why not? Her house didn't explode. She could totally just go home and go back to her life. But he took her with him. And then they had to sleep outside and like they were like running around being hunted. Like, if it were me, I would be like, why the hell didn't you just drop me off at my house? Like, why do I have to go? What? I don't want to be involved in this. Gross. That's how I feel about that. But anyway, that has nothing to do with Scream Queens. I guess kind of, because he's in the second season. But maybe, I don't know, should I watch the second season just so I can have more to talk about with Scream Queens? I just don't know if I can do it. Plus, they're in like a hospital. And besides Scrubs, I just can't get into hospital shows. I just think they're like a weird way to look at gore. I don't know. It's not for me. I'm too squeamish. I don't even know how I watched Scream Queens. Like, literally, they stabbed and murdered and chopped up so many people. I don't know how I watched it. I'll tell you exactly how I watched it. I watched it like this. Just like that. But I dealt with it because it was so funny. Like, the whole reason, if Chanel was not in that show, what would that show have been? Like, she was the best character, and I felt like she was the hero of the show. She saved the day so many times. And she like tried to do good deeds. Like, she sent those people gifts and like visited their dumb houses. What did Grace ever do for the public? Nothing. What did Keke Palmer ever do for the public? Remember, she tried to have that haunted house charity thing, and there were all those dead bodies, and like she was too dumb to even like notice. Or did she get kidnapped? I don't know. I refuse to rewatch the show. I watched it, I guess almost 6 months ago now. But I just, like, I really hated the characters who ended up winning. And I really loved the Chanels, and I didn't... Especially, okay, here's another thing that I thought it was weird that they kind of villainized the Chanels at the end. Like, they did so many episodes where they were showing us, like, Chanel growth. Like, the Thanksgiving episodes where Chanel stood up for Hester and they left the Radwalls' house. And then Chanel number 3, like, had that moment where she was like, you know what? My family is problematic and mean and I don't want to be around them anymore. So it's like, why bother developing these characters and making me feel like, yeah, they're really learning something. Like, they're really going places. Just to at the end be like, oh, but they're rich and they're pretty, so they deserve to go to jail. And then Grace, who didn't experience any character development, she was like awful the whole time and stagnant, and she actually literally got dumber because she started failing all her classes. Like, that was the person who won out, and like the murderer didn't murder her just because she was like kind of nice to her one time. Like, Okay, yeah, Grace was like kind of nice to you one time, but Chanel literally gave you a whole new wardrobe and a whole new look and like social status, and basically shared her boyfriend with you. Like, isn't that better than just someone being nice to you because they feel sorry for you? Like, if someone ever felt sorry for me and like pitied me, I would throw up. I don't want that. That's disgusting. That's the last thing I want. Ew, it makes me nauseous just thinking about it. Like, if you think the situation I'm in for whatever reason is sad, then like I don't need to know that. Just leave me alone. Don't like come over and be like, hi, I love how poor you are or whatever. I think it's so brave. Oh my God. Ugh. I can't. Okay. I feel like I've created this circle here. So I'm gonna see like what else I can say while I fill that in. But, you know, I might have said everything that needed to be said. I really liked, I think, okay, one of my favorite Chanel moments was her on Black Friday. Oh, okay, this is great, actually. So Chanel on Black Friday, Chanel Oberlin, and she paid whoever was working that night or whatever to let her into Walmart early so that she could buy out the stuff and like, or it probably wasn't Walmart, I don't know. But so she could shop on her own and get the things she wanted and then watch like the general public get all upset and like so mad at her and like, and then when the store finally did open, like chaos would descend. Like, are you really trying to tell me that Chanel is the bad person in that situation? Like, Chanel was resourceful. Did she use her resources to help people? No, she used them to help herself. And I guess, like, you can do better things whenever. But, like, what I took away from that scene was, like, the masses are also just as selfish because as soon as they had access, they, like, trample each other and they fight each other and they bite each other and they do all these horrible things to each other because they want to buy gifts. Like, really? Like, if they're better people than her, like, shouldn't they do better things? Like, my takeaway from that whole scene wasn't, oh, Chanel Oberlin is so mean. Like, how could she do that? My takeaway from that scene was like, wow, people are awful and everyone is, like, out for themselves. It's just kind of depressing. But that was my takeaway. And that's why I was rooting for Chanel the whole time. And I didn't think they did her right in the end, man. I think they really, like, messed up the story there. I felt like that couldn't have been their intention. It didn't make sense to me. Hi, Kirby. I just felt like I just felt like a lot. Maybe I need to stop that. But it didn't seem to me at the beginning of the season that the intention was to throw the Chanels under the bus. I think what they could have done was had Hester confess, and I think that could have been it, honestly. I don't know what else he would do from there. Maybe Hester could have gotten caught, or maybe Hester still gets away with it, but the Chanels don't get blamed. But I guess that was kind of what they wanted. I guess that was their goal. But it wasn't even a good goal. Like, you know, sometimes like that quote from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like, cool motive, still murder, or whatever he says, something. The motive wasn't even cool. It was like their mom died on accident mostly. And so, like, because their mom died on accident mostly, they wanted to get revenge on the sorority. But the people in the sorority now are not the people who were there when your mom died. Like, who are you really exacting revenge upon? What are you doing? What is your goal, really? Like, it sounds like you just want to kill people. And if that's what you want to do, just say that. Just say you just want to kill people. That's fine. That's you don't have to have like I don't know. Obviously, I'm not talking about in real life. You shouldn't kill people. But on the show, like if the show wanted me to root for the murderer, I feel like they could have tried harder. They put so much more effort into developing the Chanel's characters and giving them like good lines and making them like nice to look at. And I feel like they barely did anything with Hester and Gina and Grace. And I couldn't get behind that. I did like Nick Jonas's character a lot, and I was like excited to see him as one of the like killers, I guess. Like I thought that was interesting. But then they killed him. I was like, okay, why? Why did you kill him? Why'd you do that? I'm not going to root for you. He was a fine character, and he was so funny. That whole Joaquin Phoenix thing, oh my God, it was like, I was like, oh, okay, I like this character, and then they killed him, and I was like, all right. Okay, I guess so. Like, she killed her own brother. You killed your own brother. Did you guys ever watch The Lion King 2? Do you remember that? When Kovu accidentally killed whatever his name is. I don't even know. But it wasn't even on purpose. It was like a rock slide or something. Ooh, I should talk about Lion King too. I should talk about The Lion King. Maybe I'll do that next week. Because, I guess, okay, I don't know. I don't think I could say I was ever rooting for Scar, but there were definitely moments where I felt like Scar was way more relatable than Mufasa. When was Mufasa ever relatable? He didn't really do anything. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, look, I did it. I finished, boop. Oh, that's wrong. Boop. What? Why am I looking at my face? I finished the forehead, kind of. So I'm going to... Can I wave it, you guys? Is that what that button is? I'm waving. Wave, 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 wave. Hi. So I finished the forehead, sort of. There's like this. And then I have the whole rest of the face. And I think I'm going to make some adjustments here. And then I got to do the background. And then I'm going to add some other stuff. It's a journey that we're on together while I talk about this. And I think for me, the hardest part of the face is actually the eyebrows. Because what the heck even are eyebrows? I'm going to look at mine. It's like, I don't spend a lot of... I feel like if I did my makeup, like if I was the kind of person who like really did makeup, I would have a better idea of what the hairs in your eyebrows are doing. And then I would have a better idea of like how to draw them. I've been trying to get better at it, but honestly, it's like what's happening there. I bet you girls who like do their eyebrows would be so good at drawing eyebrows. Well, obviously they would. That's like half the battle. But yeah. That part, I think I'm going to save the eyebrows for last because I'm nervous. But here we go. Forehead, Dunzo. I feel like I've said just about everything I wanted to say about Chanel. I'm just going to say it all again. She was the cutest. All the Chanels. They were cute. They were funny. They were dynamic. They had good story arcs. They had character development. They were relatable. I thought they were relatable. And they were interesting. And what was Grace? What was, hi, I'm going to wave. I waved at everyone. Wave. Grace was boring. Kiki Palmer was boring. Hester was kind of interesting, but for the most part, just annoying. Who else was there? I mean, I guess the Dean was kind of a villain. I was never rooting for her. I thought she was I couldn't like, I couldn't relate to her character like I wanted to. I wanted to like her, but I just felt like she wasn't that great. I felt like she was just like dumb and mean for no reason. Yeah, so really I just felt like the best characters in that show were the ones that in the end they were like, we're sending them to jail because they suck. Like, no, they don't. I'm so upset that that happened. I was so upset. Like, I literally sat there and I was like, I cannot believe I watched this whole show for it to end like that. Like, thank God, honestly, that it wasn't like 8 seasons like Game of Thrones. Like, imagine if I had invested all that time just to watch my favorite characters go to jail for no reason at all. Like, ugh. I don't know. You guys have to tell me if you really thought, like, if you watched it, like, did you really think that the Chanels were the villains? Like, did you really feel like they deserved that? And it was so stupid because I think right at the beginning of season 2, they're already out. So it's like clearly that ending was never meant to stick. You know, maybe I'm taking this show too seriously, but like that's what I do. That's how I roll. I don't half-ass things. I dive in. I'm not just gonna like watch a show I don't care about. I'm gonna get too invested. I'm going to read all about the characters. I'm gonna look them up. I'm gonna figure out what their Myers-Briggs are. I'm gonna pick the one that I think is the most relatable. I'm gonna decide like which aspects of that character I want to incorporate into my life going forward until I forget about them. Like, that's what I do. And that's why I have to become like pickier and pickier about what I watch. And yes, having said that, I stand by thinking that the Fast and Furious franchise is amazing, and I will watch those movies again and again until I die because they're amazing. All right, I think I can officially... Well, let me add a few more dots here. You guys can watch. I've been switching back and forth a lot. All right. I'm going to say that once I finish this little section, that we're going to be done so. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and listening to me talk about my Scream Queens feelings. Maybe I'll do the Mummy next week because, like I said, when I started this video, it was half and half between them. And I was just in more of a Scream Queens mood in the end. So that's what happened. But yeah, there we go. That's that on that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think. I mean, we'll just see. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. How do you end these things? It's weird. Bye. Wait, how do you end this? Oh, I see. I need to eat something.